My name is Peter Stradham. I'm going to be walking you through a demonstration of the 4Sight retirement tool. And for the purposes of this demonstration, I've pre-populated the retirement tool with some information on a fictionary character by the name of Joe. What we're going to do is, first of all, go through some of the data capture that one would need to do in order to do a credible retirement analysis. And I'm going to break the video down into two parts. The first part should be roughly 10 minutes. Will be dedicated to the whole data capture process and some of the rationale behind that process. And then the second video will focus on actually putting together a retirement income plan and then playing around with some what-if scenarios in terms of Joe's retirement and what he can do to take care of certain shortfalls. So here we have Joe, male, 45 years old. Let's say he's been with his company for 6 or 7 years and he's planning to retire at 65. Now, like all of us, Joe is not a wealthy person, and he is just looking to be able to put some kind of a plan together to ensure that he is able to retire with a fair degree of financial independence and not be dependent upon his children or having to work full time to the age of 70 or 75 or thereabouts. Now, the most retirement calculations and exercises live and die by the accuracy and the credibility of the assumptions. So here we are, we've got some assumptions that we're going to invoke, and I'm going to assume that Joe is somebody who could be categorized as being a moderate type of investor, moderate risk. And in terms of that, the rates of growth that we're going to use are not going to be too high. For example, growth in his pension fund 10%, growth in retirement annuities 10%, unit trusts 12%, endowments 10%, growth in cash investments 6%, preservation funds 10%. And we also need to take into account future salary increases and what we expect the consumer price index to be. Let's go on to the next page. Joe is a salaried person and he's currently earning 20,000 Rand a month. Now, we refer to this 20,000 Rand a month as being the retirement funding income. Often people have packages where it's made up of retirement funding and non-retirement funding. So, although he's earning 25,000 Rand a month, only 20,000 Rand is taken into account when working out his pension contribution. Let's assume that Joe is a member of the company pension fund and he's been on it for 5 or 6 years. The current value of the retirement fund is 150,000 Rand. And although the company's contributing around 7% of his pensionable salary to the retirement fund, or to the pension fund, only 3% of that 7 could be going into the actual retirement fund. In other words, savings part. The other 3 or 4% could well be swallowed up by administration charges, cost of insured benefits like group life cover, disability cover, income replacement, and so on. Then Joe has his own contribution, which then gets deducted off his salary, and that's 7% per annum, giving him a total retirement funding contribution of 10%, which amounts to 2,000 Rand per month. At his previous job, Joe was also a member of a retirement fund, in this case a provident fund, and when he left, he had the foresight and discipline to, rather than take the money, which he can do, he transferred it into a preservation fund and gave it to Old Mutual's protector fund. Joe also has 1 or 2 policies and investments that he currently contributes to. He's got a retirement annuity with Momentum Life that's currently worth 50,000 Rand. He's paying 300 Rand a month into that. Got some unit trusts with Adam Gray, current value 100,000 Rand. He's paying 500 Rand a month into that, and that escalates at 10% per annum. Then he's got an endowment with Liberty Life, and that's worth 100,000 Rand, also paying 500 Rand a month, and also escalating at 10% per annum. I'm going to flick through the next few screens because they're not relevant and I'm not going to be demonstrating their functionality. But this is where we get to a bit of the interesting part now. So this is where we start determining retirement goals. And what we've tried to do is to represent these goals in understandable values, in other words, today's money. So Joe's retirement goal is to have a monthly income of 15,000 Rand a month when he retires, and he would like that to escalate at whatever the CPI rate is, in this case 6%. He would like this to escalate at 3% over and above the CPI rate, so in effect 9% per annum. We also need to fund his medical aid, and he estimates in today's money that would be 2,500 Rand a month, escalating at CPI plus 5%, in other words 11% per annum. What the calculator then does, it compounds the 15,000 Rand from age 45 to 65, and that comes out at 48,000 Rand a month, and likewise with the medical aid compounded at 6% per annum, that goes up to 8,000. So when he retires in tomorrow's money, he's looking for 56,000 odd Rand a month, but in today's money that's 17,500. At retirement, he anticipates that he'll be able to get a part-time job worth earning 5,000 Rand a month, and he estimates that he can continue with this part-time job for 5 years, and that will escalate at 5% per annum. He's got a little apartment which he currently earns 3,000 Rand a month rental on, and calculates that he'll probably have to sell that in year 9 of his retirement, in other words he's age 74. The rental is expected to escalate at 5% per annum. The current cash value of the property in today's money is 750,000 Rand, and that's expected to grow at 8% per annum. What the calculation then does is, and in his retirement year 9, it will sell this property for whatever the value is, compounded at 750,000 Rand, compounded over 29 years of 8% per annum. Now, when people retire, doesn't mean they can't continue to enjoy the odd luxury, in some cases more than luxury but necessities. So perhaps you need to budget, or Joe would like to budget for a new car, he'd like to budget for a holiday. And for the purposes of the functionality here, to demonstrate the functionality, we're assuming that a new car, after the trade-in and so on, he would have to fork out another 75,000 Rand, and for a holiday 30,000 Rand. That's today's money. He would like to buy the new car in retirement year 5 and go on holiday in retirement year 1. And we've assumed a rate of escalation in the cost of these two items of 10% per annum. And he would like to repeat the new car purchase every 5 years, and he'd like to repeat the holiday every 3 years. So that's the background. This screen is quite a busy screen, and this is where we start to build cash flows. We start to assume rates of growth on portfolios put together to generate retirement income. We play around with living annuity drawdowns. We get into quite a lot of detail. So what I'd like to do is, I think I'd like to break the video now and give you some time to mull over some of the data capture, perhaps make a few notes and so on. And then I'll do a second video where we'll start on the screen, and then I'll show you how we can start manipulating capital, moving around, changing various assumptions and drawdowns to see just how long Joe will be able to enjoy the level of income that he requires. Thanks for watching, and I hope you'll take the time and trouble to view the second video to get a bit more of an insight, because this is where it really starts getting interesting.